Hello, researcher. Welcome to the SCP Foundation. We are currently in need of your help as your capabilities are greatly needed in this hard time. We have caught 15 unidentified classes for you to research on. I look forward to your cooperation. Before we start, do you know the classifications of containments or objects? Today, our task for tonight will be classifying them according to their containment difficulty as well as their containment specials. Before we continue, can I ask my fellow researcher, have you ever classified an object during your previous research? Yes or no? Anyway, if you haven't, here is some information about them from our top secret information catalog. Safe class, SCPs are easily contained. However, safe does not automatically mean harmless. Instead, it means that we could lock them up and have no worry about them. Safe class objects come in all shapes. Euclid class SCPs require fairly specific containment procedures, but if they're followed, the SCP is easily contained. Most humanoids and sentient animals should probably be in class Euclid because they're capable of free will. Keter class SCPs required extremely specific containment procedures and are simply so difficult to contain effectively that they might need higher levels of care resources to suppress. If you lock it in a box, there is a chance it bursts out through the lid of its own accord unless you follow every stringent containment procedure. It's a Keter. A Keter class SCP needs to stand out from other articles to be a unique threat on its own. Today we will only be classifying them with these three containment. I'm so sorry. If you have any more questions, your fellow researcher will be able to help you, so feel free to ask them anytime. I will also be here to help you if the texts are difficult to understand. Without further ado, should we start? For our first object, we shall name them Reducted and call them by their alias NJ002. This subject emanates a cognitohazard, constant exposition that would cause creation of sentient beings which are identical instances of NJ002. The aura can be suppressed by keeping the entity contained or exposed by the subject to NJ003. Adeninum. In case of emergency, NJ002 is vulnerable to cold iron, which is very weakness. This object could also grow extra limbs, and some studies show that the SCP is allergic to durian pizza. It seems it's only its weaknesses. Research also have difficulty classifying NJ002 as the subject as it often breaches containment and is currently on the run. Now, my fellow researchers, I may need to ask your help. What classification should we name this object? You have 1 minute to vote. Time's up. So, researchers have decided that this entity or subject is a Keter. Now, we shall proceed for its special containment procedures. For Object NJ002 special procedures, here are as follows. To give you an idea, we will present you 3 options that most of the researchers have decided what to bring, and you guys will pick which one is the most suitable for this object. Option 1. This subject must be contained in an anomalous jar with a special liquid found at beep in order to control the subject's anomalous powers. Number 2. Place a special handcuff in order to pacify the subject's abilities, then throw them into containment. Third option. Proceed to offer to SCP-001, the Scarlet King. Please vote according to the numbers. You have 1 minute. The researchers have spoken. We will follow option 1 to place object number 1 in its special containment. Thank you for your cooperation. Should we move on to the next object? Our next file would be Subject NJ003. Subject NJ003 abilities are listed as follows: Flight, Dragon Speech, and Heightened Stamina. NJ003 is also exhibits an extra toot from the subject's bosom that could charm humans. Believed to have shape-shifting abilities as seen on 0129.29, Addendum C file NJ2434-6969-123. NJ003's voice is considered to be a hypnotic cognitohazard, as humans who get exposed to it would be mesmerized and toot until she is completely inaudible to human perception. More commonly known as the keeper of NJ002 and NJ004, she keeps NJ002 and NJ004 from causing for more abnormalities. Now researchers, I need your help. Please decide what subject class would this person be. The researchers have spoken. Subject NJ003 is now considered as Euclid. Now, for its special containment procedures. Please pick the most ideal option for object NJ003. NJ003 can freely roam around in facilities' recreational areas as long as there is no direct interaction between the subject and the facility staff. NJ-003 can be distracted by exposure to the subject's favorite Japanese animations like Hunter x Hunter, Inuyasha, BNHA, and Haikyuu. NJ003 must always be observed by Mobile Task Force Omega-7 Pandora's Box. Researchers, please vote now. You have 1 minute. The subject is in the chat, alongside with the researcher. Please do not influence their voices through your power. Thank you very much. Thank you for your cooperation. We will now proceed option number 2 for the special containment procedure. Thank you. Let's move on. We will be talking about NJ004. NJ004 is a subject that requires daily humectation to maintain the health of her gills. While almost non-anomalous on land, the subject is highly agile when submerged in water, and says that their kind is part of quote-unquote ocean royalty. Subject presents a higher than average libido, yet possesses no threat to humans. Subject engulfs in the entire area of a mimetic agent radius of 100 miles, wherein affected individuals view the subject as a princess of a lost forgotten empire under the sea. Addendum NJ00-4-A. Some researchers or theorists propose that the ancient city of Atlantis, while others exclaim that she might be the ruler for the long-forgotten kingdom hundreds of years ago, wherein she was next in line to the throne. NJ-004's hygiene is non-existent, as researchers have observed that the subject does not clean her room. Addendum NJ-004-B. There are also some instances that NJ00-2 and NJ00-4 have a tolerance for unhygienic things. Addendum NJ-004-C, as seen in a private video when an incident where a fly almost went in her mouth. Now please classify this subject in its object class. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your input. NJ-004 now is considered as a cadet class. Now let's move on to the special containment procedures. Here are the options that are follows. NJ-004 can freely roam around the facility recreational areas as long as they provide the subject with her basic needs and wants, such as Doritos, fire noodles, and is allowed on the facility swimming pool with a researcher and a mobile task force in order to keep the direct observation of the subject. NJ-004 must be contained in a room with a friendly SCP such as SCP-999, the Tickle Monster. And the last option, if the subject is deemed threatening, NJ-004 must be pacified by the Mobile Task Force Gamma-6 Deep Feeders. Researchers, please vote now what special containment procedures you would like to proceed. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be following option number 1 for her special containment. Now, let's move on to the next object. NJ-005. NJ-005 anomalous regeneration exhibits similarities with floras found in special locations such as Toot Gardens. NJ-005 has been considered to be a reality-alternating SCP, as the subject can put herself in any situation that she desires, causing the Toot incident. Researchers have also provided a document catalog to the times that she uses her powers. Based on her interest, the subject is considered to be safe and relatively harmless. Addendum NJ-005-A. Dr. Toot assumes she gets influenced by human media, such as Detective, RNL, and MillieParfait collaborations with NJ-002. NJ-005 also produces anomalous pollen-like substances that attracts humans and turns them into vegetative pigs. NJ-005-1++. Note that NJ-005-1++ has a power to protect the distressed NJ-005 at all costs. Now, researchers, please classify this object according to its class. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. The researchers have deemed it to be safe. Now, let's move on to the containment procedures. The special containment procedures. Reality alternating SCPs cannot be contained. Reality alternating SCPs cannot be contained. Reality alternating SCPs cannot be contained. In a note of an event large-scale abnormality event by NJ-005, a YK class entropic annihilation event will be broadcasted. Now, since we don't have any options for this one, let's move on to the next object. Our next object is NJ-006. NJ-006 is found in the Toot Sea and has a strong relationship with the penguins. NJ-006 is believed to be Toot R.T's niece, opted to be the next Toot Due to NJ-006 position as the niece of the two, there is little to no information about her. So instead, the subject is contained in a secluded area to avoid possible cataclysmic awakening. NJ-006 has anomalous shape-shifting powers called Peter. See file NJ-006-1. The subject is generally harmless, however, the transmission to Peter Green kicks in to the subject and release a form of a mimetic agent subjecting to a large variety of individuals to be infatuated with it. NJ-006 has tested upon and reviewing her results in human activities seems to be highly proficient, tests including drawing, video editing, and singer. However, the result of her performance in gaming is below average. Please rate this object according to its object class. Thank you for your cooperation. NJ-006 is now considered as a safe object class. Now let's move on to its containment breach procedures. For its special containment procedures, NJ-006 must be contained in a frozen, highly restricted, monitored, secluded place with the penguins for its companion until possible awakening. NJ-006 is free to roam around with the facility with the accompaniment of a researcher and a mobile task force Lambada-4 bird watchers. Continuous observation for NJ-006 until possible awakening, then termination upon awakening. Please note, upon subject's failures for termination, an SK class dominant shift scenario is broadcasted. Please vote to pick which special containment procedures should we go under through. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation, researchers. You have decided to pick option 1. Now let's move on to the next object. The next object is NJ-007. NJ-007 is a lunar dragon and NJ-002's sister. Researchers do not have exact information on their bloodlines. However, DNA tests confirm that they're Subject claims that she is a sky dragon descended from the moon, and researchers have noted that she is indeed definitely considered to be reality's strongest dragon, and she has been observed to be capable of winning in all competitions and is highly proficient in gaming. Due to the nature of the subject, researchers get easily deceived, and there have been multiple records of the subject breaching containment. Addendum. See file NJ-007-1++. Similar to NJ-003's ability, it seems like her laugh has some sort of anomalous effect to whomever listens to it. Based on addendum NJ-2232-60 and NJ-2232-70, test subjects have felt utter sense of happiness whenever they hear her laugh. Researchers, Please vote now. What class object would NJ00 be? You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. We have decided that NJ-007 is a Keter. Now, let's move on to the special containment procedures. Here are the following options. NJ-007 can be contained doing a toot, and as she has her weakness when she's in soft voice mode and cannot laugh. NJ-007 can freely roam around the facility of sight, toot, with little supervision from Mobile Task Force Alpha-1, red right hand. The researchers has decreed that no form of containment should be done and that the subject should be left with their own devices and instead become part of her membership, as what her followers and former containment teams would note. You have 1 minute to vote which special containment procedures for NJ-07 would be. Thank you for your cooperation. The researchers have decided that option 1 would be the most suitable for a special containment for NJ-007. Now, let's continue to the next object. The next one is NJ-008. NJ-008, primordial objective of NJ-008 is to find toot substitute. Its needs of toot is the objective of the study. NJ-008 seems to be friendly with humans, but sometimes has violent episodes with its own children, which shows emotional instability. Its favorite food resource is human wine. Anyone who interacts with the subject is subjected to believe that NJ-008 is their mother and will love, cherish, and obey her. Researchers have assessed that she came from Toot realm, which puzzled scientists as she inhibited an anomalous state called gambling and has successfully won all her matches due to extreme luck. Scientists are now studying the cause of this anomalous state. Now researchers, please vote what classification would NJ-008 would be. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. She is now deemed to be Euclid. Now, let's move on to its special containment procedures. Here is the special containment procedures for NJ-008. In case of violent episodes, proceed to give NJ-008 a bottle of red wine. NJ-008 must be accompanied by Mobile Task Force Epsilon-11 Nine-Tailed Fox. NJ-008 is free to roam in the facility, but is immediately pacified when the subject summons anything from the Toot realm. You have 1 minute to vote for the option. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be proceeding with option 1 when it comes to its detainment. Now, let's move on to the next object. The next object is NJ-009. NJ-009 is considered to be highly ominous subject by the researchers because of her high intent to toot during the assessment program. Has the title The Songbird, since her voice has mesmerized and captivated researchers during the assessment. Her vocals are also considered in becoming an individual SCP given by the administration due to its uniqueness. Subject has a weakness against birds. Should a bird be within a 15-mile radius, the subject will go ballistic and enter a state of animalistic frenzy, which will toot anyone and toot anything. Subject will cease behavior once the bird has been captured and taken away from the 15-mile radius, addendum NJ-009-A1. The bird causing the behavior could be terminated instead. NJ-009 allows its victims to reveal their toot as well. Oddly enough, it'll continue to talk about birds, addendum NJ-009-B1. Whether they like them or not is irrelevant. Now please vote what object class NJ-009 would be. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. The researchers have decided that its object class would be Keter. Now, let's move on to the special containment procedures. Here are the following options. NJ-009 should be placed within the containment of SCP-2337, Dr. Spanko, along with a lot of birds. This will give the subject anxiety but will be more susceptible to its surroundings. NJ-009 must be placed in the facility with no birds in the radius. This will give the subject a peace of mind. NJ-009 has a romantic affinity for a human called Connor, NJ-009-800-RK. Subject Connor must be placed together with NJ-009's containment during violent episodes. Please vote now for its containment procedures. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be choosing option 3 as its containment procedure. Now, let's move on to the next object. The next object would be NJ-010. NJ-010 is considered to be an immortal apparition seen to haunt the endless of time. Subject has been observed to leave sodium chloride on the ground. NJ-010 has been seen interfering with communications between NJ's SCPs and makes other subjects crazy, specifically NJ-009 and NJ-015, subject Vox Acoma, addendum C-File 0130-2022, Among Us. NJ-010 has the translucent body and the shape of a young woman. The Church of the Broken Ghost has deemed her glorious back worthy, and they have been often worshipping the subject. Followers or individuals who wear NJ-10's hat, NJ-010-1, experience hallucinations akin to a cognitive hazard that traps them in the state of forgetfulness or memory erosion. Addendum NJ-010-1A. Researchers have been deemed NJ-010-1 to be another form of anomaly. Please vote now. What kind of object class would NJ-010 be? You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. NJ-010 is now considered to be a Euclid class. Now, let's move on to its special containment procedures. Here are the 3 options. Upon containment breach, NJ-010 must be pacified multiple times by the Mobile Task Force MU-13 Ghostbusters until exhaustion and to be put inside a large ectoplasmic coffin. NJ-010 will be put beside NJ-015 Vox Akuma for eternity and will be pacified if the subject refuses to comply. NJ-010 can be pacified as per subject's wishes. Please vote now. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be proceeding option number 2 for its containment procedures. Now, let's move on to the next object. The next object is NJ-011. Subject is able to induce mimetic hazards, enabling individuals to at first unconsciously say "Pog" whenever an event of excitement appear. Addendum NJ-0011-A. Subject is able to project "Pog" in all researchers regards if happy, sad, or excited. Individuals who listen to the subject's information will slowly lose their cognitive skills, will eventually start questioning their existence, losing their sanity, and only utter the words "Pog." At this stage, individuals who exhibit this are considered to be dead and turn into NJ-001-A++. With this, the instances created by NJ-011 will amplify the power and increase the likelihood of individuals encountering NJ-011 and utter the word "Pog." The effects of "Pog" enchants to intensify in the state, and the subject will also cause individuals to express their words only with emotes. NJ-011 also has the ability to shapeshift into Lucy. NJ-011-1, addendum NJ-011B1. It also produces the same effect as NJ-006-1. Please vote for the classification of this object's class. Thank you for your cooperation. This object is now considered as a safe object class. Now let's move on to the special containment procedures. Here are the three options. NJ-011 must be contained in a room listening to 2 voice clips indefinitely, staying permanently flustered. NJ-011 can be distracted by exposing him into graphics interchangeable of Pogfish. And the last one, once the object reaches facility-wide threatening levels, NJ-11 will be isolated in a soundproof room wherein everyone that is infected by the subject will cease spreading Pog and will self-terminate. Addendum NJ-011-C1. Researchers must be cautious when interactive with the subject. Please vote now. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. The people have opted. The first option would be the proper containment procedures for NJ-011. Now, let's move on to the next subject. The next subject is NJ-012. NJ-012 is considered to be an anomalous mythical humanoid with a tooth past. Addendum NJ-012-A. The subject is quite vague when its origin, causing researchers to speculate its true origin. Addendum NJ-012-B. Upon further examination, the subject always refers to tooth as fire as cause of the subject's anomalous abilities. NJ-02's abilities are similar to NJ-011's mimetic hazard. In this scenario, whenever the subject says "ay," the researchers will recite the same word, causing a mass hysteria of "ay" in the facility. NJ-012 records show that it's highly resistant to anomalous operations such as NJ-010 and NJ-015. The subject needs more observation and further testing to identify NJ-012's abilities. Addendum NJ-012-A1, there have been no record or sightings of any related abnormalities till the present day. Updated 2.12.22. Please vote now. A. Thank you for your cooperation. NJ012 is now considered as a safe object class. Now, let's move on to its special containment procedures. Due to having no records of its nature, NJ-012 is currently placed on a containment that can nullify any anomalous abilities it could have. Mobile Task Force Omega-12 Achilles Heels must be ready outside all times if the subject ever breaches containment. NJ-02 can be distracted by making him recite the 70 digits of pi. NJ-012 can freely roam around the facility with a researcher and a Mobile Task Force Omega-2 Achilles Heels accompanying him. The subject is not allowed to communicate with other humans. Please vote now. Ayy. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be picking option number 2 for its containment procedures. Now, let's go on to the next object. The next object is NJ-013. NJ-013 has been examined to have multiple personalities. There are currently 3 observed by Dr. Toot, and these are Soft NJ-013, Metal NJ-013, and Ominous NJ-013. Researchers are continually conducting experiments to gather data on these anomalous activities as the subject is emanating. NJ-013 possesses a unique voice similar to NJ-009 and NJ-003 that can captivate humans through genes of music. The subject's data also shows that NJ-013 has a high aptitude of music and fast reflexes when it comes to certain games. See file NJ-243-platformer-jump-king. NJ-013 also shows high tolerance of adrenaline-induced beverages. Subject also claims that the subject has an aptitude to travel time and dimension. However, the subject refuses to elaborate. Insufficient data. Please vote now. What type of object class classification would NJ-013 be? You have 1 minute. Please also remember that the classification is based on how we contain it and not its power level. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. The researchers have deemed NJ-013 to be Euclid. Now, let's move on to its special containment procedures. Here are the following options. NJ-03 has shown a fear for bells. As such, he could contain an enclosed area with the church bells inside. Note, preferably to be contained inside the church by Dr. Boop. NJ-013 can be distracted by giving him a pen and a paper as he will start to write novels. NJ-013 will be forced in a containment that freezes time, namely NJ-2434-013, aka Twitter Jail, containment to relieve the subject's trauma. Vote now. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be picking option 3 as its special containment procedures. Now, let's proceed to the next object. This is NJ-014. NJ-014 is considered to be an anomaly who traveled from the past alongside with NJ-001. Addendum C file NJ-2434-014 for further assessment. NJ-014 has displayed excessive adaptability to situations and a high level of problem-solving skills, much to surprise the researchers interactive with the subject. It is also seen when interacting with the subject, NJ-014 will see them as a foolish person. It is believed that this is an act that the subject performs to trick those who are interacting with it. NJ-014 displays a massive amount of information about mimetic hazards that is considered to be slightly repulsive to some. Subject also seem to have able to incite panic, fear, arousal, or anger in people that interacts with. It is believed that the subjects learned things from time as a self-proclaimed detective, but no records have been found with a detective with a subject's name or appearance. Please vote now. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. This object is now considered as a Keter. Now, let's move on to the special containment procedures. Here are the special containment procedures for NJ-014. NJ-014 can be distracted by giving unsolvable SCP case files. Example, the mystery of SCP-001 Spiral Path. NJ-014 can be distracted with rice with the subject had trouble handling. NJ-014 can also be placed with a lot of researchers in one containment. This will exhibit the subject's introversion, making him very quiet. Please vote now what special containment procedures will we apply for NJ-014. You have 1 minute. Thank you for your cooperation. Option number 2 will be the most suitable special containment procedures for entry number 014. Let's proceed to the last one. NJ-015. NJ-015 is presumed to be immortal, and the subject's presence has been recorded on books dating back to... Dude! NJ-015 is able to control individuals with a voice-inducing cognitohazard, mostly relating to jump scares in mind. Addendum NJ-015-A. Once individuals are able to hear the subject's voice, the individual becomes thirsty and writes thirsty notes onto the subject, lose their cognitive skills upon completion of the note, lose their sanity, and are turned into followers of the subject. Researchers must proceed with caution in the containment procedures as the voice demon is able to induce NJ-015 charms onto unsuspecting targets and coerce them to release and serve him. Please vote now for the object's class classification for NJ-015. Thank you for your cooperation. NJ-015 is now considered as a cater class. Now, let's move on to the last special containment procedures for NJ-015. NJ-015 can be contained by asking him about lore, since he will talk about it even after being contained again. NJ-015 can be contained by having him locked in a movie room with on loop. NJ-015 must be distracted by playing a lot of games called which he is really good at. Researchers can take time playing with the subject to keep him distracted. Must be continuously monitored by the Task Force Lambada-5 White Rabbits. Please vote now. Thank you for your cooperation. We will be picking option number 2. For its special containment procedures. Thank you for your contribution, researcher. We have successfully finished classifying all of the 14 anomalies, and it's time to move to the final one. Are you ready? Before we begin, I would like to give you a final warning as the last one is considered to be top secret. Warning. Any non-authorized personnel accessing this file will be immediately terminated through SCP-NJ site EN Mimetic Kill Agent. Looking without proper mimetic inoculation will result in immediate cardiac arrest followed by death. You have been warned. Welcome back, researcher. Let's go open the file.